everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Changeling. Also, I'm sick. So, I wasn't sure what woke me up. I'd been dreaming, running, being chased by something. There was singing reverberating through my head, the sound of dripping water, the taste of moss in my mouth, and then I was toppling into space and woke with a start. In my own bed, thankfully. It was a relief after everything else that had been happening lately. But then I lay there for a long moment, staring at the ceiling as I tried to work out whether the dream woke me up or if I'd heard something in real life. My head felt weird. Heavy, foggy, and my throat was tight, sore. A cold? Hey, same. After all that, I ended up with a stupid cold. Ugh. I lay there, face down in my pillow, before I remembered something had woken me up, and maybe I should check it out. I sat up in bed carefully, listening, trying to pick up on any sound. It might have just been someone getting water or something. Wait, no, there he was again. That sounded like someone whimpering. It's coming from Spencer's room. I stumbled out of bed, my head throbbing as soon as I was upright. Oh, headache of doom! Half stumbling my way to the bathroom, I put a hand to my head as if goodness me, as if I'd somehow soothe away the pain by touching it. Spencer hadn't locked the side of the bathroom, so I eased the door open and peered inside his room. It was too dark to see well, but I could just make out Spencer, curled up in bed. He seemed to be fast asleep, no whimpering or any other weird noises. Maybe I imagined it? I didn't think so, but whatever it was, it had stopped. I turned to leave when I heard it again. It twisted in the sheets, and in the light filtering in from outside, I saw his expression shift as if he was experiencing something unpleasant. Nightmare? I hesitated. If Spencer woke up and found me in his room, he'd probably freak out. At best, he'd be mad. At worst, he'd wake up Mom and Dad with a complete meltdown. But, no, have to get... He curled up tighter beneath the blankets, clearly having some terrible dream. I knew about those all too well, and I decided I couldn't leave him alone. I walked softly to his bed and sat on the edge. Spencer? I rested a hand on his shoulder. He was shaking in his sleep. Spencer, it's okay. You're just having a bad dream. Spencer made another soft, sad noise. No. Shh. No, please. Please let me go. I'm sorry. Kind of Shane. I started, at first thinking maybe he'd woken up, but no. He's dreaming about me? Spencer? Spencer, it's okay. I'm here. It's Cata Shane. Spencer quieted down and his eyes cracked open. He was looking up at me, expression still foggy with sleep. Cata Shane? Yes, it's me. I'm back. I'm okay. Spencer's eye went wide and fearful. No. If you're here, then they'll come back. Spencer, you're dreaming. Probably the one with the penguins. It's okay. It's just a dream. No, they're here. They're here. She let them in. I hesitantly reached out, smoothing his hair. He was definitely still mostly asleep. He'd had night terrors before. For a few years, when we were about 7 or 8. Maybe they were back? Back then, he'd cry inconsolably until I crawled into bed with him. That was a long time ago. Now he just clutched his face, writhing beneath the sheets. And then, as suddenly as he started, Spencer still fell still and silent. Maybe all the stress from moving back had finally caught up to him. He didn't wake when I touched him this time, and he seemed to have completely fallen back into deep sleep. And I suddenly remembered how fragile he was underneath all that anger. He'd always been emotional, easily upset, and clingy. He'd followed me around so much when we were kids. I guess it was nice to know that when he was half asleep, he could still rely on me a little. I gently rearranged the blankets and pillows, tucking him back into bed properly. He'd had night terrors after the incident 5 years ago too. For a little while, it seemed like stress was always the catalyst. Though, if that was true, it was the catalyst when they started up for the first time. I sighed. That was a brain teaser for another night. My head was still pounding by the time I made my way back to my own room. I was almost too tired and dizzy to crawl back under my own sheets. As I did, I caught a glimpse of the time, just past 3 a.m. I really needed to get my sleep habits back in order. That was my last thought before I finally drifted off. When morning finally arrived, I woke reluctantly to something fuzzy at my shoulder. My head was so horrible, pounding, heavy. My eyes hurt. Cata Shane? I tried to sit up or even talk, but my body was having none of it. I managed to roll part of the way onto my side with all the grace of a beached whale. Marah. I've been trying for Mom, but close enough. All I wanted was to go back to sleep, but I had school. I could sleep in the car when Ellie picked me up, and then in class. Elliot had been getting away with it after all. Mom, however, had other ideas. Crochane? Crochane, what's wrong? I tried to sit up again, but this time she pushed me back down. And by push, I mean she put out her hand and I folded like red paper. I'm fine, just... You don't look well. Yes, of course. I was expecting one of you to get sick by now. I thought it would be Spencer, but I suppose it was your turn, wasn't it? It was Spencer last time. Mom. What? One of you always gets sick right before picture day. Which I have to say, your lucky senior pictures were earlier this year. And then I got proofs from your previous school. Why is she talking about pictures again? I have to get ready. No, you are staying in bed today and getting some rest. She placed a hand on my forehead, frowning. Her fingers were cold and pleasant feeling. No fever. Yet. She almost sounds disappointed. She checked her watch. I have a full day booked, but I'm going to call you later on, right? And if you get worse, you need to call your grandmother to get her to take you to the doctor. Understand? Uh-huh. Honestly, I wasn't going to put up much of a fight. I was tired, and frankly, I just wanted more sleep. I didn't know if all those nights wandering around outside were catching up to me or what, but I didn't exactly hate the idea of staying home for a day. Do you need me to let Ellie know you're staying home? I'll text. I mumbled it into my pillow, but she must have misunderstood because she left after that. She paused in the doorway. No coffee today, but I'll bring you some tea before I leave. I made a face. Mom's tea for colds was always gross. Too sweet and lemony. I hated lemons. Yo, same. I burrowed into my pillow for a split second before fumbling for my phone. Diff Mod Voral. Is this some kind of riddle? Sick. No school. Ah, you okay? Sick. Cold? Yes. Okay. I set my phone back on my night table, or tried. I heard it fall to the floor with a soft thud, but just left it there as I fell back into a doze. I was tired down to my bones, not to mention all fuzzy, heavy, and woozy. Even so, I only dozed fitfully, with uncomfortable dreams that I couldn't quite remember when I would rise to near wakefulness. I missed when my phone rang the first time. I heard the second when it rolled over, fumbling for a minute before I remembered it had fallen. I didn't want to bother, but if it was Mom, she'd have kittens if I didn't answer. Okay, don't answer. Kittens are awesome. As much as I kind of wanted a cat, that definitely wasn't the way. Though explaining my mom having a litter of kittens to the neighbors might be easier than one might think given who my neighbors are, I leaned over the edge of the bed, fishing out blindly for my phone. At some point I realized that with half of my body sprawled on the floor and the other half still snuggled in the blankets, I was stuck. Dang it. I lay there resting my head on the carpet and trying to find the energy to climb all the way out of bed, then back into it. What is that under my bed? There was a strange nebulous lump lurking in the shadows there. I was reaching for it when my phone chimed again. I stared down at it blearily, then finally crawled all the way out of the blankets and immediately pulled myself back up into them. It was Mom, texting to see if I was okay. I quickly messaged her back that I was fine. I also had 2 missed calls from Ellie, just checking on me, or had something happened. I quickly texted her. Everything okay? She didn't respond immediately, and I'd actually just started to doze off again when my phone chimed. In class, all okay? You called. Wanted to tell you I'm stopping by during lunch. Okay, why? Because I'm worried, you dork. I'm fine, really. I chuckled softly. My head felt a little better, but I was definitely still kind of woozy. My throat was sticky and sore. The pain had kind of lodged itself on the right side, hurting every time I swallowed. I sat up, rubbing my head. As much as I wanted to just lay in bed, I should get up and get something to eat. Maybe I could have a shower, too. I forced myself to swing my legs out of bed and get up. I looked around for my slippers, but couldn't see them anywhere. The only thing I could find was my journal. Ugh, my journal. I was supposed to be getting back into my research, and instead I was sick. Great. I picked it up and dropped it on my bed as I crouched to see if I'd kicked the slippers underneath. Probably that lump I saw earlier, except that wasn't actually what the lump was. I very carefully pulled out something I knew hadn't been there before, because I checked. A little posy of flowers. I chewed inside of my cheek as I turned them over in my hand. I definitely checked under the bed for one of these before. This one had to be new. The brownie? Was it the one placing this around the house? A double cross? I mean, I had let it stay when I had the option to kick it out. Though, even if the brownie had put this under my bed, that didn't necessarily mean it had nefarious motives. But it didn't have to be nefarious to cause problems. I couldn't leave these things around the house. I'll have to do another sweep, even though I wasn't feeling up to it. I needed to just search around and make sure there weren't any more posies around. Whether the brownie was responsible or not, I couldn't leave them in the house. Besides, brownies usually protected the family they lived with, so there was that. Carrying the flowers I'd found with me, I decided to check Spencer's room next. After all, he'd been acting weird, and it made sense to check there first. The first thing I noticed in his room was a brownie, sitting on his bed in a nest of socks. I'm not going to ask what you're doing, but please don't make a mess. He looked at me solemnly and chattered in his weird voice. I didn't understand any of it, of course. I dropped a check under Spencer's bed. There was one of the stupid things there as well. I stood and looked around. You could help me find these instead of bringing more inside. I frowned up at his curtain rod and moved closer. Ugh, another one? I pulled his desk chair over so I could get it, feeling a bit precarious up that high with my head feeling so weird. I managed to get it without killing myself and looked around. Where else? The brownie narrowed its eyes and hopped off the bed, heading for Spencer's closet. Oh no, you don't. I hurried after it, planning to put a stop to whatever mischief he was up to before he got started. What the hell? I had no idea why it would take to pranking him again when he finally had stopped, but it didn't seem like a prank was on its mind. He waited for me, and when I joined, it actually kinda led me to a wadded shirt in the corner of the closet. It wasn't the shirt that seemed to interest it though, because he dragged it out and unwrapped it to reveal a dirty towel. I looked down at the brownie, raising an eyebrow. I didn't know what he wanted to show me, but temporarily forgetting how gross I felt, I crouched down and pulled the towel out of the shirt. It made a small mess of twigs, leaves, clumps of moss that fell out of the towel. What the heck? I frowned down at the mess. Why would this be hidden in his closet? Unless this is familiar. When I'd been sleepwalking outside, I'd had to clean my feet off to keep from tracking mud everywhere. Now I'd hide the paper towels in the trash so no one else would see. Could this possibly be the same thing? Was Spencer sleepwalking outside? But my going outside at night had been related to being a changeling. If that was true, what did that mean for Spencer? It couldn't possibly also be a changeling, right? That made no sense. If he was, why be so suspicious of me after all these years? No, this was something else. But what? I didn't know. And the most pressing thing was definitely to find any more fairy favors and get them out of the house. If it was a brownie, that was one thing. But Logan and the others had said the Fae might not easily let me go. I didn't want to be paranoid, but this felt like a sign they might still be around and keeping an eye on things. Or maybe it was just a sneaky way for that changeling fairy to make sure she could get back in the house. It's not like the brownie was the only fairy that had been around for a while. Regardless, I was going to have to stay vigilant. I hated that. I suddenly didn't really feel safe in my own house. I needed some of those protections against fairies, just to be cautious. Oh wait, the bell Ewan gave me. Where did I put that? I hurried back to my room and rifled through my desk drawer, and there it was, a little iron bell with a red ribbon tied around it. I picked it up and gave it a ring. The sound was high-pitched, clear, and it felt like it echoed in my head long past when the sound actually died out. With this, and maybe if I put some salt in the window ledges, that might help keep anything unpleasant at bay. And if I was just being paranoid, it still wouldn't hurt, right? That's basically what I spent the rest of the morning doing, searching for posies and seasoning the house with some of Dad's gourmet sea salt. Unfortunately, I didn't get as far as I wanted. I was working kind of slowly because I had to take frequent breaks. I just finished Spencer's window when I heard Mom's car pull up in the drive. Shoot! I scuttled from Spencer's room back into my own. Tiredness, woozy, and missions were forgotten as I dove into my bed and pulled the blankets up. Good old Shane. Hey Mom, how are you feeling? Throat's less hurty and more sticky. Head's still a little woozy. Feels a bit less like it's full of cotton though. Mom reached up to touch my forehead again. And I guess since I'd just been running around like a maniac, it was a bit hot and sweaty. I should call a doctor. No, it's fine. I think I just need more rest. Probably just a cold. And if I go to the doctor, they'll just be all drink lots of fluids and it'll be a waste of time. You feel awfully hot though. I'm fine, really. Well, if you're not better by tomorrow, I'm making you a doctor's appointment. And I say again, I'm going to be fine. I wish I could stay for lunch, but I have an appointment I can't miss. Are you going to be okay making yourself something? Mom, I'm not 12. I know how to work the stove. She brushed my hair away from my face, smiling slightly. Your hair's gotten awfully long, hasn't it? You have no idea. I'll probably need to get it cut soon. I wonder if Mandy's still cutting hair. You remember her? I remember the time she tried to talk you into letting me go blonde. No, way, never. I love your red hair. Okay, there's this thing called individual and another thing called personality and another thing called my body, my rules. So if your daughter wants to go blonde, she should go blonde. Fuck off. Well, I like it too. You and Spencer both with your red curls. At the mention of Spencer, I thought about last night.
Self-voicing
Oh
enabled.
God, I'm sorry.
Self-voicing disabled.
My bad. The smile faded. Mom leaned over and kissed my forehead. Why don't you try to get a little more sleep, then have lunch, okay? I have to head out again. I just want to stop by and make sure you were alright. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. She ruffled my hair, then headed for the door. I watched her go, frowning heavily. I definitely need to get this fairy stuff sorted. I've been way too focused on how all this affected me without considering how it might affect them. None of them asked to be dragged into this, not her and Dad, and not Spencer. And I couldn't let our lives get disrupted because of me. Not again. I might have been gone for only a few minutes when my phone chimed. Hey, saw your mom leave. Here with Ewan. What? Is that okay? Worried. Let us in? Give me a sec. Ewan was here, and I was in my pajamas with that big bedhead. And they were already downstairs waiting. I at least grabbed some clothes and ran my hands through my hair before running downstairs to let him in. Hey, I wasn't expecting you guys to stop by. Well, you don't look horrible. Thanks, I think. Sound a bit hoarse, though. And you're pale. Are you sure you're okay? I'm okay. I gave Ewan a sheepish look, thinking about what Ellie had said about needing to stay away from him. I hadn't seen him since he left the courtyard, so it felt a little awkward. It didn't seem like he was still upset, though. Sorry to stop by and announce. When Ellie told me you were ill, I was worried. Foxglove can have some unpleasant side effects on fairies and humans, since you're a bit of both. Oh, you think it's related to that? I thought it was just a cold. It could be, but given what you've been through, we didn't want to discount the possibility it was a side effect. I called my dad. Seems like he didn't trust Brenna's potion and made up a batch himself. And he may have mixed up the measurements, add a little too much foxglove. He thinks you may just have, well, a bit of hangover, I guess you could call it. Kind of a delayed reaction, isn't it? Foxglove can be poisonous to humans, but you're Fae, so the effects are a little different. I mean, technically, I didn't drink the foxglove, right? I mean, I did, but I wasn't in this body. Foxglove has magic properties. It doesn't affect just physical bodies. So my soul has a foxglove hangover. Foxglove poisoning or something. Is that what you people are telling me? Well, it's possibly something along those lines. Soul hangover. That sounds dumb. Sorry, I'm really sorry. My dad's a terror in the kitchen on a good day. When he's making potions and changeling remedies, you can imagine the levels of wrongness he can achieve. Well, it might not be such a bad thing I had to stay home today. Why is that? I found more of those fairy favors in the house. What? I thought we cleared them all out. Same, but I found one in my room, several in Spencer's. In Spencer's room? Fairy favors? What do you mean by that? Just little poses of flowers and herbs, basically. How many? I only found a few this time, so far anyway. Well, it may not be anything particularly bad, unless your house is specifically protected against them. Wild fairies might lurk around or pass through. Just because they leave things behind doesn't mean they want to cause harm. Someone might have even left it as a gift. I was thinking that too. I thought it might even have been our brownie. Could have been, but even if that's true, other fairies can take them as an invitation. Still best to find them all and get them out of the house, especially considering the situation. I agree. What about that fairy ring in the back? I don't know. Nothing new about it, really. I'm going to check it out. She headed for the kitchen, leaving Ewan and I in the foyer. Ewan shoved his hands in his pocket, leaning awkwardly against the balustrade. Also, I wanted to apologize for storming off yesterday. I guess I just took Ellie's advice a little personally. No, I wasn't upset or anything, I was just worried. It was just frustrating to feel like you might be willing to shut me out like that after I helped you, and it's stupid because I didn't help you because I was hoping for anything. I never intended to shut you out. Look, Ellie's probably right. It might be best for you to keep your distance after all this. I mean, fairies are clearly just causing trouble for you, and even if you aren't exactly going to be able to just walk away and live a normal life after this, you can at least avoid anything related to fairies as much as possible. You'll be safer. I didn't like that. I didn't like the way he was saying it, and I didn't like the idea of avoiding him because of this. Ewan, back! I sighed softly. Come on, let's go see if she found anything. The silence was heavy and awkward as I led Ewan back to the kitchen. So I didn't really find anything terrible lurking out there. I mean, I didn't really expect to. That fairy ring definitely gives me bad vibes, as I thought. We need to get rid of it. It's a good idea. All fairy rings get open gates to fairy, especially at this time of year. It's not good to keep it around. Believe me, they'll sneak those things right up to your window and use it as a way to drag you into their world if they can. That thing was here when we got here, so at the very least, I don't think they're using to try to get me or whatever. That's no reason to not assume they won't. That's the problem with fairies, Shane. You never know when they're just being fey or when they're being shady. And if you want to stay safe, you have to assume the latter. Yeah, but I think I mentioned before, kicking over a few mushrooms got the brownie pissed at Spencer. How can we get rid of it without, bringing up pox on the house and all that? Shelly has been looking into that. We need to find a way to protect the household before we even touch that thing. But we'll find something. Don't worry about it. I am worrying about it. Worry about feeling better and finding the rest of those fairy favors. That's enough for you right now. Right, I will. We've got to get back. Are you going to be okay on your own? I think so. I mean, I'm still feeling a little dizzy, but it's not that bad. It feels like a mild edge cold. Well, try to take it easy if you can. I didn't know how that was going to work when I needed to scour the house for little fairy advice scattered around. And let us know if anything weird happens, okay? Anything weird? This whole thing was an ending parade of weird. I let two of them out and ended up spending the afternoon looking for any more flowers or twigs or weird mushrooms in the bathroom cabinet. There weren't as many as last time, but definitely more than expected. I didn't quite get finished before Mom came back home and I had to retreat back to my room. It wasn't bad timing. I was starting to feel pretty gross again as evening approached. This time, before bed, I remembered to put Shelly's herb mixture back in my doors. I wasn't trying to keep myself in this time, but anything else out. Hold on. Sorry about that. And I very carefully locked both doors, just to be on the safe side. Regardless, I didn't think I was going to be sleeping easy until all this was over for good, if that time ever came. I did eventually try to get some sleep. Of course, that was when my brain decided to think about a million things, so sleep was nearly impossible. I don't know how long I flopped back and forth, trying to find a comfortable spot that wouldn't entice sleep. Too long. I had just finally started to drop off when the light in the bathroom flicked on, sending a warm glow of light up from the crack of the bottom. Ugh. I rolled over, glaring that way. There was a shadow passing back and forth under the door. It's as if Spencer was pacing in front of it. The heck is he doing? The door handle to my side jiggled slightly, causing me to sit up. Is he trying to get in here? In the silence, I could hear his feet shuffling back and forth and whispering. What is going on? I hopped out of bed and padded quietly to the bathroom door. Pressing my ear against it, I listened carefully to see if I could hear what he was saying. The whispering was too faint. I set my hand on the knob and in one motion threw the door open, leveling a glare at him. He froze as soon as our eyes met. He was standing there, strangely hunched, with his hand pulled up to his chin. His eyes were wide and blank as he stared at me. So, what am I? He looked around foggily, clearly still half asleep. Spencer, what are you doing? I don't know. Have to go. Hill. You're not going to any hill. You're going to bed. Hill? What the heck? I caught his arm and walked him back to bed, my frustration evaporating. This was clearly wrong and worrying, and whatever he was doing, I didn't think he could help at all. He was remarkably compliant as I helped him back to bed. I pulled the blankets up, still frowning as my gaze fell on his alarm clock. Nearly 3 a.m. Again. He cast another worried look his way as I retreated to my bedroom. It felt like there were only two options. Either Spencer's night terrors were back, or for some reason the fairies switched their attention to him. And I was going to go with the latter because there was something distinctly unnatural about all of this. I couldn't believe it was some weird coincidence. But why? Spencer's behavior reminded me of my sleepwalking, but it was clearly different as well. It wasn't just heading straight for the woods or the bridge. He was lurking around, trying to get in my room. Ali said fairies could influence dreams, even control sleeping humans. Since Spencer being a changeling made no sense, it felt like he must be something more like that. But why? Unless the foxglove ritual had cut them off from influencing me anymore, so they had to use him. I fell into bed too exhausted and sick to worry more about it. I slept only fitfully until morning, waking up frequently to check doors, but everything was silent the rest of the night. I didn't feel at all like going to school in the morning, but I wanted to talk to Allie, and not over text. I got myself up and started to get dressed until Mom caught me. She cornered me in the bathroom and did the usual forehead check. You still feel warm? I'm fine. You're not fine. Look at those circles under your eyes, and your voice is still hoarse. Mom, back to bed. Spencer caught what you have, and you're both staying home. Spencer's sick? I have to close on a house this morning, then 2 viewings this afternoon, and then I'll be back. I want you both to rest. There's no reason sending you to school now, only for you to relapse in a couple of days because you didn't rest enough. But I can't believe you honestly want to go to school. I do. Bed. Now. I let out a frustrated sigh and retreated under her watchful gaze. She was only satisfied when I was laying with the blankets up to my chin. But as soon as she was gone, I grabbed my phone and texted Ellie. Still sick. Big problems. What? What's happening? Spencer, something wrong. He's sleepwalking, acting really weird. Not normal weird. I'll stop by soon. Mom working today? For a while. We can say I'm bringing home work if we need to. Sounds good. We'll tell you when she leaves. For one blissful day, I'd been able to think that maybe this would all be over. Now it looked like I was definitely too hopeful with that thought. Mom left a short time after that, and the house was silent. I texted Ellie, then tiptoed into the bathroom to listen at Spencer's door. Not a peep. I knew he couldn't have caught my supposed bug. Not if the reason I was feeling under the weather was from that foxglove mixture. So I wasn't sure what was wrong with him. Pretending I was sick so he could stay home and spy on me? Or were the late night escapades having an impact on him? I knew how that was. I'd been a zombie for days because of that nonsense. It made me angry. The idea they were messing with him to get to me. I hated it so very much. I finally headed downstairs to wait for Allie. I wasn't sure when she was going to try and stop by. Maybe I could do another sweep through the house without Spencer noticing. I decided to definitely give it a shot. But for now, coffee to clear my head. I was in the middle of making that when I decided I was hungry too. So I fished a carton of eggs from the fridge, thinking I'd poach one to have with toast. I was just getting that started when I heard shuffling footsteps on the stairs. I tensely glanced back wordily, half expecting to see creepy sleepwalking Spencer shambling toward me. Instead, it was just normal sleepy Spencer standing on the bottom step watching me. He definitely looked the way I'd been feeling a few days ago. Poor guy. Want an egg? Toast? Coffee? I don't drink coffee. Hot chocolate? Tea? I'll make you something if you want. Just tea. He half mumbled it as he shuffled to a stool and flopped down. I bit my lip as I filled the kettle and set it to boil. In the meantime, I broke my egg into a little bowl, looking down at the shell. I had no idea how accurate any of the books actually were, but maybe, Brenna kind of scoffed at the idea. Still, it couldn't hurt to try, just to be completely sure. I cautiously filled one side of the eggshell with water. What are you doing? What's he look like? I have no idea. Something weird, as usual. I narrowed my eyes at him. There wasn't much of a reaction. If anything, anyone would find it weird to try to boil water into the eggshell, right? I decided to dip the water out before tossing the shells. I'd already decided he wasn't a changeling anyway, so it's not like I really expected anything. A moment later, Spencer stood, the stool scraping against the floor, as he started back to the stairs. Going to try to sleep. What about your tea? Forget it. I'll bring it up when it's done. He grunted in response. How very manly of him. I leaned against the corner and the counter and stared behind him long after he was gone. Then the water started to boil, and I was distracted with my impromptu breakfast and Spencer's tea for a while. It wasn't until after I cleaned everything up that I heard a car pull up out front. My phone chimed at the same time. Sorry it took a while to get away. Where can we talk? Give me a sec. Thank goodness. I wiped my hands and went quietly to the front, letting myself outside just as Allie was coming up to the porch. Hey, just want to stop by and give you some homework, she said it loudly, peering around me to the inside as she brandished some worksheets. She shut the door behind me and pulled Allie back toward her car. Spencer's up in his room sleeping. What the heck is going on? I don't know. He's been sleepwalking, I guess. Moving around at night, trying to get in my room. I can hear him muttering to himself, whispering. All I can think of is when I was doing the same thing, but it doesn't make sense. If I was sleepwalking because I was a changeling, why is Spencer doing it? He's being a changeling as well, just doesn't add up. Well, maybe it's not that he's a changeling then. The Fae could still be influencing him somehow. If he's trying to get into your room, maybe you're the target and now they're just using it to get to you. I had that thought as well, but why? To try to lure me out? Drag me out by force? Either one? Both? Their power is on an upswing right now to Sam Hine, so maybe they're feeling particularly bold since they have plenty of time before the end of Overflow to get you back. What do we do? I told Phylos as much as I know, but you have to understand that the agency doesn't usually get too involved in fairy business. It's nearly impossible to police them anyway. At most, they might be able to offer some protection until the overflow is over. Well, they're useless. I'm thinking we might want to just get you out of the house and see what happens. If you're the target, they'll leave Spencer alone and try to follow you. What if they hurt Spencer while I'm gone? If they intend to hurt anyone, they would have already. We can't ask them what they want, so we just have to trick them into showing their hand. I don't like the idea of leaving. Someone has to keep an eye on things. We're hardly going to abandon your family and let the Fae do what they want. I have an idea. One that will let us get you to a safe place, and that will let us keep an eye on your family in case they have something else up their collective sleeve. And what plan is that exactly? Just sit tight. I need to make some arrangements first, okay? Great. She handed over the worksheets she brought. Just in case you need evidence my visit was legit. Thanks. Anxious and unsure what Ellie had planned, I took the worksheets back inside. The house was still quiet. I still felt kind of ill, and I really wanted to be able to just rest. As it was, it didn't seem like resting was really in the stars for me at this point. Headed up to my bedroom, pausing in the door. I wasn't sure why, but it felt like someone had been there. Spencer and the brownie were the only two options, but I was used to the brownie already. Spencer? I peeked through the bathroom. His side was open, and he appeared to be asleep in bed. Why would he have been in my room? Just normal brotherly snooping? Did that mean he was pretending to feel bad? Man, I hated this. It was like he just switched from his being suspicious of me to the other way around. Fairies suck. I went back and flopped on my bed, throwing my arm across my eyes. I didn't want it to be this way. Rolling over, I stared at the light drifting through the curtains. What happens now? Several hours passed before Ellie texted me again. She told me to sneak out if I could and head toward the bridge. The bridge, huh? Felt weirdly like everything kind of went back to the bridge for some reason. I wondered why that was. Going down there was starting to feel kind of ominous. Or maybe all the sneaking around was just starting to get to me. Either way, I got ready quickly anyway, eager to hear what she had in mind. The house had become oppressive. I was surprised to find Spencer sitting at the kitchen table when I got there. I didn't hear him leave his room. He had one of Mom's old scrapbooks open in front of him, but closed as soon as he heard me. I'm feeling a little better. Wanted to get some fresh air. I think I'm going to go for a walk. He didn't acknowledge that, so I quietly headed out of the kitchen. It's strange. I stopped and glanced back at him. Since we got back, I've been dreaming about the past a lot. Sometimes feels like I've forgotten something really important. He set a hand on the scrapbook and frowned down at it. How do you live feeling like there's some kind of hole in your mind? I bit my lip anxiously, wondering what he was talking about. You just live, because that's all you can do. He looked really, really tired and really, really sad. He was still sitting there when I left a few minutes later. I wasn't expecting to find Ellie with Ewan and Drayson. All three of them were waiting for me on the street path that ran alongside the road. There was a thin veil of trees that shielded it from view of the street. On the other side was just woods. Hey! How are things? Well, normal, I guess. He's only being weird at night, usually before 3 a.m. Which, I guess it just aligns with what I thought about the Fae being involved. As soon as it's hits street, everything goes back to normal. Sounds about right for fairies. I even tried to kind of test him a bit earlier. Test? Well, I did that, eggshell thing where you boil water in front of a changeling. You did the eggshell test? He broke into laughter at that, so much that he actually had to turn away to collect himself a bit. Hey, I'm desperate for answers here. It was the only changeling test I could remember. Ewan, stop laughing. It's mean. Sorry. I just never heard of someone actually trying that. I punched him in the arm, but he made him laugh harder. You are such a creep. Okay, enough. This isn't helping. Jeez, Ewan. Sorry. He was still laughing quietly to himself, though, and he didn't look sorry at all. What's the plan exactly? Well, I do think we should get you out of the house. Separating the two of you means we'll confirm it's you they want, and hopefully exactly what they're up to. We're assuming they're trying to use him to drag you out of your room or something. They might just be harassing you. And we're dealing with Fae. We can't discount the possibility they're up to something totally different. Their motives are tricky to guess. That's all good and well, but how are we going to convince my parents to let me leave? They don't care about fairies and paranormal things. They care about school nights and homeworks. Well, you're sick right now, so that helps. We'll just be giving you a replacement. A what now? A replacement. No, I heard you, but what? We'll use fairy glamour to disguise someone else as you. They'll stay at your place at least overnight and observe the situation. You can be in touch with them over text. Wait, so it's not you that's going to replace me? Wait, you said glamour. I looked at Ewan dubiously. It's not going to be me. I'm just here to do the setup. Drayson? Yup. Sorry, let me get this straight. Ewan is going to use fairy glamour to disguise Drayson as me. Drayson is going to spend at least one night in my house pretending to be me while I go elsewhere and send him tips and advice over the phone. Yeah, if you say like that, it does sound kind of stupid. Like we're stuck in a really bad comedy. Hey, I had to come up with this plan on short notice. I considered asking Greta to stay in your place, but no. No, that's not going to work. Can you? Drayson and I don't exactly look similar. Don't worry, I can handle that much. Don't say it as if making him look like me is an easy task. I also brought a fairy stone with me to help increase the magic effect. Look, Spencer has been saying I'm an imposter for 5 years, and now we're actually putting an imposter in the house with him. If he suspects anything, I'll be really careful. I don't know about this. Wouldn't it be better if you just stay the night with me? You think your mom would go for that while you're sick? On a school night? No, but we could sneak you in. You think if Spencer saw that, he'd freak out less? No. Look, this isn't just to spy on him. It's to get you out of there too. I think it's really important we split the two of you up and watch what happens. It's the only way to know for sure what they're up to, who they're after. As much as I don't want to say this, we can't ignore the possibility they're lashing out at your family in anger. Seeing what they do when you're not there will really help us figure out what's going on. I'm not sure of another way to do it that won't alert your parents. It just seems extreme. Being kidnapped by fairies wasn't extreme. Well, it was. We need to know what's happening. Was Sam high in a few days especially? Okay, fine, let's do it. Need anything from me? Actually, we need a lock of hair. It's not totally necessary for the glamour spell, but it's going to work a lot better if we add something of yours when Ewan sets it up. I wasn't sure how I felt about giving some of my hair to a witch, a fairy, and a unicorn, but you totally looked doubtful about this. Well, a little. It'll be fine. I'll just nip some from underneath the back. I let out a long sigh. Fine. I turned away and lifted the back of my hair, still really unsure about it as Allie sniped some of my hair. I stood with my arms wrapped around myself as Drayson pulled his hair loose from the braid so Ewan and Allie could help him weave the lock of my hair into his own. It was all so weird, but I suppose it wasn't any weirder than anything else that had happened lately. Okay, all set. He glanced up at the sky. Noon isn't the best time of day to cast fairy magic, but I guess we don't have much choice. He held his hands up in front of Drayson's face, concentrating. Allie stepped back, giving him room. And then... what do you think? This is creepy. I'm creepy? That's not... No, you're not creepy. I'm sorry, it's just weird seeing myself like this. Seriously, couldn't handle him at all. I just sighed as I studied him, trying really hard to not think about all the implications of him looking like me. Well, you did a good job. Thanks. Drayson tipped his head to the side, wearing a really, really not me sort of expression as he watched me. Then my eyes went really wide. Someone's coming. I think it's Winston. Who's I didn't even get the sentence out of all the way. You went close distance between us, and hooking one arm around my waist, basically leaped into the trees with me before shoving me into the underbush. I lay under him completely winded as I listened to Allie follow us a little more slowly, and sounding suspiciously like she's trying not to laugh. At least we got hidden just in time, though. There you are. I thought you were going for a short walk. Wait, did you just call Spencer? Winston? Yep. I stared up at Ewan, who was kind of crouching above me as he silently facepalmed. Next to us, Ellie was biting her hand to keep from laughing. My doubts that Drayson could pull the soft skyrocketed, though I was at least glad we got off the path before we saw us both. I couldn't imagine what would have happened if Spencer showed up and there were two of me. Very funny. Mom has been texting. She wants you home and in bed now. Oh, right. Yeah, I was just coming back. I'm feeling pretty, tired and sick and stuff. He coughed awkwardly. Ellie, I'm going to kill you. Spencer was silent for a minute. I could totally imagine the look on his face. Whatever, just come home. Right away. Oh, let's walk together. I've never sounded that chipper in my life. Their footsteps started to fade as they started back to the house together. What the heck are you doing? Get off me. I just wanted to hold your hand a little. What the heck is wrong with you? What? But we're brother and sister, right? Their voices faded and I let out a strangled groan. If Spencer makes him cry, you have my permission to hit him. Just once. Drayson will be fine. He looked around the tree, then stood, pulling me to my feet as well. Sorry about that. I might have panicked. I noticed. We both looked at Allie, who was still crouched down by a tree, her shoulders shaking. She looked up at us, tears forming as the giggles finally started. It wasn't that funny. I hope you realize this is a serious situation, Allie. But he tried to hold hands. She could barely breathe. She was laughing so hard at this point. I say we just leave her here. I'm for it. We both started to climb back onto the path. Allie scrambled after us, finally managing to get a hold of herself. I glanced back towards the house worriedly. Will he be alright? I know he seems like an airhead. He's just immature, though. He'll be fine. He's really sensitive to fey magic, so despite appearances, he's the perfect person to put in there to figure out what they're doing to your brother. I hope you're right. Let's get you situated for the night. I think it's going to be a long one. No kidding. I cast another long look toward home as the three of us started away. I just really, really hope this actually helped us learn something and just end all this for good. All right. Whew, another episode. This was a bit longer than I expected. And yeah, like the supernatural stuff is still, in my opinion, the most interesting aspect of the story. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.